Hey guys, this one might get a little more esoteric, kind of. So, when I was at this church, I did praise and worship for the youth there, and it was one of those bigger churches. They had more equipment, more into the CCM music and stuff like that. But anyway, there was this kid there that ran sound at the time, and he never liked me. He didn't like me. I picked up on that really early. And eventually, after being there for a while and having to work with him for a while, I kind of got a little fed up with it, and I'd mentioned it one time, and he really kind of didn't, acknowledge it for a while. But eventually, one day, he came back to me and he said, "You know what? You were right. I have treated you a certain type of way because I didn't like you." And he explained it. He explained. He had a moment of reflection. It was actually kind of nice. It was, it was kind of like an acknowledgement that, my intuition was correct. And then it almost seemed like he had a moment to be able to think about why. And he was even kind of like, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have treated you like that for just no reason. Yeah, that was actually pretty neat. Yeah, there was a few moments at that church. I already told you that church was super heavily Masonic, definitely infiltrated by Freemasons in so many ways. And I had a moment. I was hanging out with the band guys. The kids in the band. I think we were in practice or something, and I was on the stage, and maybe I took a nap or something. We practiced a lot, guys. We really did. We were young, and we really liked playing music, and we had time. It kept us out of trouble. And we practiced a lot. For some kids, we got pretty tight. And anyway, I had a sleep paralysis moment, and I caught some of the boys in the band talking. And they were talking about esoteric stuff. And they were talking about how some of the people that were in the church, mainly the pastor and me and my brother, and they had used different names for us. And it was kind of, I remember because it was similar to how my folks would talk. And I remember they said that the pastor was Archangel Michael. Okay? And I think what they were talking about was at a soul level. And then they had said my brother, well, this is, all right, so first they said I was Morya. And then one of them corrected them and they said, well, no, he's not Morya. His brother's Morya. He said, well, he's David. He said, I was David. He said, his brother's Morya and he's David. But the younger one out of those two that were talking about that actually corrected him, or he had brought up an idea, and he said, well, hold on. If he was David, though, wouldn't he be Morya? And that one was pretty clever. He was smart. And what he was tying that to is because Morya's incarnations are with royalty. And if you actually look at the genealogy of, Jesus all the way down to David, and you go even further than that, eventually it goes to Abraham. Morya is one of Morya's incarnations. Abraham. He was also King Arthur. Yeah, they probably wouldn't like that I remembered that. But I do. These are some of the things they'll talk about. Yeah.